Welcome to LSC, it's Sports Time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have a special guest in Kevin Swann, former Hampton High basketball player, and now a minister. We're going to talk about a lot of different things today. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a coup for me. I feel like we've got somebody in here that has not only will personify sports in the Hampton system, but success after that outside the sports thing. But let's go back. You started playing basketball. I thought you was in the junior high system, but you weren't. As an 8th grader, you did what?
8th grade, I played JV basketball for Hampton High School, and Coach David Blizzard was the coach. And I would tell you, when I went out to try out, I was scared to death. It was 100-some kids in the gym, and Coach Blizzard saw something in me at an early age. I'm very grateful for that. I actually got a chance to play as an 8th grader and get a lot of time at the end of the season, and so that allowed me to have a lot of confidence going into my freshman year.
Okay, now as a freshman, did you make the varsity?
I played JV part of the year, and then I was called up for the Christmas tournament. If you remember, at that time, it used to be at Fort Eustis.
Right, yeah.
And then I went and played JV after the Fort Eustis tournament, and then when the season ended, I went back up again. Okay,
so when you went into the tournament, then you were playing. I was playing on the varsity level.
Yes.
And that had to be an experience as a 9th grader to play with all these guys that, 3 years old. And in high school, 3 years is a lot of difference in age.
Yes, and their skill set. I mean, the guards at Hampton, we were talking about Anthony Bell at that time and Wesley Johnson. Those players I knew I couldn't compete with.
Right.
So it was better for me to play JV in my 9th grade year. Then Anthony Bell graduated, and then I had a chance for more playing time my freshman and sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Yeah. All right, now I've been watching some of these old ones and the shorts.
Let me
tell me about the shorts.
I have to say thank you, first of all, because a lot of people come up to me. You would not believe, I'm in the stores, I'm in church, and people are laughing. And I'm saying, well, what's so funny? Well, we saw Hampton City Schools channel, and we saw the basketball games you used to play in, and we saw these shorts that you used to wear. And first of all, you were so skinny. we have that story going, and so comparatively speaking to where the players wear the shorts today, I remember one I was watching, and I had my jersey out, and I couldn't even see my shorts at all.
Right.
They were that short, but it's a very different era. We didn't even have the compression shorts that people wear underneath.
That's right.
We didn't have that at all. We just had shorts, and we played. And so it's very interesting to see the tapes back when we used to play.
Well, I know my director, Scotty, used to say, how long are shorts until they're no longer shorts? I said, well, it depends on your size, because there was this kid over at Bethel that was playing, was short, and his shorts came down to his ankle tops.
Yes, yes, but our shorts rarely came beyond mid-thigh.
Right. But I noticed that there was no such thing as if your jersey was out, they didn't stop the game, tell you to tuck the jersey in or any of that stuff. Now, when you graduated from Hampton, before you graduated, you were lucky enough to play on the championship team. You played with some real good guys. You won a state championship in 1989. Tell me about some of the guys that was on that team.
We had a very balanced team, and I think that was our success. Gannon Baker, Paul Blackman, Eric Hunter, Cedric Williams, Aaron Mundy. So we had a big front line. We were athletic, but we also had some guards that were very seasoned and knew how to play, and we played well together. And that year we went 26-4. We actually lost in the regional finals to Maury High School.
That's right.
That was our last loss, and then we went to the state championship round, and we won the 3 games there. We defeated Petersburg 85-75 for the state championship.
But the semifinal game,
yes,
that was the one that I remember the most. And it was no other than a young man by the name of Grant Hill, who ended up going down to Duke and is still playing in the NBA.
Yes, he is.
To this day. But this guy was giving you guys fit the first half.
Really, the whole game. But really, you're right. The first half, I mean, Grant scored 30 points in the game. He had 20 at halftime, and we just couldn't guard him. And so at halftime, we're going through, Coach Brower is talking about the adjustments for the second half, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Eric Hunter, whom you may know and who did great things at Hampton, he said, Coach, I'll guard him the second half. And so the first play of the second half, Grant Hill goes to the basket. He doesn't have the ball, and Eric Hunter just gives him a real stiff elbow to let him know that I'm going to be guarding you for the rest of the game. And Eric did a very good job. He only scored 10 points the second half. We were able to guard the other players on their team. And we came back and won. We were down at halftime, but we fought back and won.
Right, and a lot of people said that was a championship game because that was really probably the two best teams you just end up in different brackets.
Absolutely, and really nobody gave us a chance to win at all.
Right.
You know, they thought South Lakes was a shoe-in to win the state championship, especially at the half when we were down, and so we just found a way to win. That really was our call for that year. We were down in many games, came back and won, and so, you know, again, the balance that we had plus the inside presence helped us out.
Well, yeah, and with Mundy and Eric in the side, that had to be a tremendous comfort for the guards to know that we have a chance. If I miss, we have a chance to get the offensive rebound, and I know we can get the defensive rebound. These guys are real hawks, but Eric seemed to be the guy just wanted to take the team, put it on his shoulders.
Eric was our leader. You know, there were captains of the team. I was fortunate to be captain, but everybody knew in the locker room, Eric was the leader. He was the enforcer on our defense. He put people in check. We had occasions even on our team where players weren't doing what they were supposed to do. He would be the one to make sure that the players were stepping up. Okay. And throughout the season, it was just like that. We looked to him in tough times, and he always gave us what we needed to win.
Well, something else had happened earlier in football, and Eric won the state championship in football. That is one of the first few times that school won both football and basketball championships in the same year.
Absolutely. We were fortunate enough our senior year, and you know, we see the success of teams today, FIBAs, and doing great things in football, but we had football and basketball in our senior year, which had not been done in quite some time.
All right. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the AAU because you played on the championship for Boo Williams in the AAU, and you had some ball players on there that were pretty good ball players.
Yes, and keep in mind, at that point, Boo Williams' program was good. It really hadn't reached the level that it is today.
Right. And
so Alonzo Mourning was the centerpiece of the AAU program. And so we were fortunate enough to travel around the country, to Las Vegas, to LA to play because everybody wanted to see Alonzo play.
Right.
So it was good for us. You're talking about Terry Kirby from Tabb High School, Chris Slade. You're talking about Milton Bell, who was from Richmond, who came down. He ended up going to Georgetown. Milan Brown, Dirk Williams out of Lafayette High School. Right. So we had a really, really good team. And this was the time where the Russians used to come in.
Yeah, we want to talk about that too.
Yeah, and so we were fortunate enough to win Boo's first national championship in 1988. At that time, Alonzo was still traveling with select teams, but he came in the last two games, gave us what we needed. We defeated the New Jersey team with Bobby Hurley and Malik Sealy and some other good players. Right. And it was actually over at Norfolk State where we won the national championship.
Okay, talk a little bit about that Russian game. I had trouble pronouncing, so I would just say number 15 and number 11. I didn't even try to pronounce some of those names.
Well, you know, the Russian team was actually a junior national team for them.
Right.
So they would play professionally, and they would come over, and for a couple of years, Boo would set this game up. And, you know, at that time, there was still some tension between the United States and Russia. But when we played this particular time, it was at the Hampton Coliseum.
Right.
We were down. It was at the end of the game. Now, I hadn't played the entire game. But at the end of the game, Cornell Parker, who was at Maury High School, went on to play at Virginia. He gets fouled, and he can't shoot the free throws. So in that case, the coach gets to substitute who he wants to go in to shoot.
And going to pick a good foul shot.
Yeah, absolutely. So he picked me. And I'm saying, Boo, are you serious? I haven't played the whole game. And so now I walk in, and I'm looking around, and it's filled. The Coliseum is filled.
Yeah, it was packed.
And so I remember I normally had a routine. I would do 2 dribbles and bend my knees. And this time, I could feel my knees knocking. And I trusted my form, and fortunately enough, the first one went in. That gave me confidence for the second one. That went in also. So the game went into overtime. We didn't win the game, but I was fortunate enough to make those free throws.
Right, but you know, this is something that I remember that Tim and I used to talk about, how cool you were when you went to the foul line, because you didn't take a lot of time.
No.
2 bounces and that little left-handed push shot.
Yes.
But it was true. I mean, you had such an eye for the basket. But we used to comment, this guy doesn't get rattled.
Well, we used to do a lot of drills in practice, and as I said to you before, I didn't really talk a lot during the games. I wasn't one that was, you know, loud and boisterous. I kept to myself, and I used to just really try to concentrate and kind of settle myself down. And so my routine was what helped me to be such a consistent free throw shooter, just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Well, and that's the key. It's muscle memory, but
Absolutely.
you got to continue to do it. Now you left Hampton, you graduated, you went up to
Central Connecticut
State.
I went there because out of high school, even though I had success, I finished Hampton actually, scoring over 1,300 points, and was right behind Art Jones, who at the time was the leading scorer. But I went there because really I wasn't highly recruited. You know, I was slight of build. You know.
Right, yeah, and you were. You did.
Yeah, I was
maybe
about
150
80 pounds.
So I don't know, but you were not a husky.
No, I was not. I was very, very skinny. And then also, as you said, my shot was not really what college coaches would consider to be one that could work at that level.
Right.
Because I used to shoot from my hip. And the reason being was because when I was young, I wasn't strong enough.
That's the only way you could get the ball to the basket.
That was the only way I could get it up.
Yeah, you
so
see that.
That kept me, and Coach Brower didn't really want to alter it because the shot was going in. So, so I went to Central Connecticut. It was a Division I school. Coach Mike Brown came from Seton Hall at the time. P.J. Carlissimo was the head coach there. He came from there, went to Central Connecticut. He brought in 5 freshmen, and I started right away. In the 2 years that I was there, scored almost 1,000 points.
Wow.
I was on pace to be the all-time leading scorer at the school. But the problem was we weren't winning any games. I think we won maybe 10 or 12 games in 2 seasons. And so it was very, very difficult with the losing. And then Coach Brown left. He took another position as an assistant coach at another school. And so during the time at Central, I played against Radford and had very much success playing Radford. Oliver Purnell was the coach at Radford. So when it was known that I wanted to transfer, he was now at Old Dominion, and that's how I ended up there.
So he had seen you play before and played, coached against you basically,
yes.
and saw what you could do,
Absolutely.
even with the unorthodox shot.
Yeah, but at that time, in between my senior year and freshman year of college, I adjusted my shot.
Right.
So it was no longer the push shot that people saw in high school. I had enough strength to learn how to shoot properly.
And you put a little weight on.
I put a little weight on too. Gained about 5 pounds. So,
tell me your experience over there with Purnell over at Old Dominion. How was that?
it was great. He really was one of the best coaches that I had. Wasn't really a high rah-rah guy, but really taught the game, expected a lot out of you. He demanded a lot of me. And I'm thankful to this day that he coached me the last 2 years of my collegiate career.
He looked like on the sideline as a gentleman.
He very much so.
You didn't see the boisterous yelling, screaming up and down, ranting and raving. You didn't see that with Oliver.
He did not. He didn't use profanity, which was something new to me.
Right.
But again, he just had a way about being calm, as you said about me. And even in tense moments, he had a way of just settling the team down and executing plays, and it was great to play for him.
Who did you play with over at Old Dominion? You remember some of the players?
Sure. P.D. Sessoms, Mike Jones, who now is the head coach of DeMatha, and Odell Hodge was the big name at the time.
Right.
Who went on to be very successful. As a matter of fact, they just had his jersey retired at Old Dominion. And my backcourt partner was Kevin Larkin, who we played together the last 2 seasons.
Okay. Now, you graduate.
Yes.
And you do something that just blew a lot of people away.
Yes.
You went into the ministry.
I did. Actually, my senior year of college, which was actually my 5th year. So
you had to sit out a year.
Yes, when I transferred. So I was fortunate enough to still graduate in 4.5 years. So my 5th year of college, which was my senior year, was when I started to get these what I call inklings that God was leading me in other directions. Now, at the time, I still wanted to play basketball. There was opportunity to still explore playing professionally overseas. I played in the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, had a agent lined up. We had an opportunity to play overseas. At the last minute, the deal fell through. They decided to go with another player. And that was what I considered to be one of the final confirmations that God was leading me in a different direction.
Yeah, we don't want you to go overseas.
No.
you got a place right here on the peninsula, and we want to make sure you stay.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your ministry.
I've been in ministry since 1997. Okay. And so after I graduated from getting my master's at ODU in '95, came back to Hampton, and then joined 6 Mount Zion, which is right up the street here on Mercury Boulevard. Pastor Jerome Barber was licensed and ordained as a minister there, served at that church for 9 years, and then in 2006 the Lord led me to Ivy Baptist Church, where I serve as the pastor there now.
Okay, and you've got a gentleman that I know right well because I had him in here not too long ago, is one of your parishioners, and we're talking about Wayne Gomes.
Absolutely. Good friend of mine, and he went to Phoebus, and I went to Hampton, as you know. We didn't meet in high school.
Well, yeah, and that's what he was telling me, because I thought that you all knew each other from high school, but you didn't.
We did not know each other in high school. It was only when we got to ODU that we began to know each other. He had great success in baseball, as you know, was drafted high by the Philadelphia Phillies.
Fourth.
And so we used to talk because we were both from Hampton. And,
Right.
and then after his playing days were over, we happened to run into each other, and it kind of took off from there again. And he is the godfather of my son, Cole, and so we have a real good relationship.
Very good. Is your son a basketball player?
We're working on it. He first told me he wants to play football.
Well,
And then he said, now I want to play basketball. But let me tell you what helped, because he saw some of the tapes of me playing.
oh, wow.
So
okay.
he said, well, Daddy, but he did laugh at the shorts.
Of course, it's the shorts. You
He
gotta
laughed
laugh
at the shorts.
Yeah.
But he did say, Daddy, I see you playing basketball. Maybe I'll give it a try. So we're going to see what he's going to do.
Now, how old is he?
He's 7.
7.
And I have a daughter that's 10. And I can't get her to play any sport to save my life.
Well, sometimes.
She likes dance.
Yeah.
She likes dance, so it's okay.
Tell me a little bit about what sports and into the ministry, how that folded.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of carryover, and a lot of people don't understand, but you are when you're playing sports, you're in front of people,
Yes.
you're performing, but you have to be dedicated to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So carry that over into the ministry.
I would tell you that everything that I've done in ministry as a pastor is really as a result of my background in sport. I have learned to translate the concepts over into a religious theme.
Right.
Even in, and I was fortunate enough to complete my doctoral studies, and my dissertation focused on the intersection of sport and religion. So
okay.
Even when you come to our church, you'll see sport-related themes. We do jersey days. So we have a lot of things that are sport-related, because I think sport is a concept that most people can relate to, because it's heavily influenced in our culture.
Right.
And then with me playing, I've learned to translate. There's a playbook in sport. There's a playbook in the church. It's called the Bible.
Right.
You have to execute the plays. You have a coach. Well, God is our coach. You have someone that's directing the plays. And so there's a lot of similarity. And I've been fortunate enough to learn how to use those to help people to understand spiritual principles.
And finally, we want to wrap this up, but this has been awesome.
It's been great. Thank you for having me.
But what wisdom would you give, in part, to youngsters out there that are just getting started in the sports? What would you tell them, the things that they need to grab a hold of that will make them successful?
Use sport.
Not only in sports, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but not only in sports, but later on in life, too.
Use sport as a vehicle to learn about life's lessons, but don't use sport over the value of education. I think that's the one thing that helped me, was the fact that sport allowed me to see things that I never would have seen. I got to travel, see the world, but also the fact that I had education when my playing days were over allowed me to continue. So you can learn sport concepts, you can still use them, but don't neglect the value of education. And unfortunately, there's so many athletes who put all of their emphasis in playing sport that they don't take their schoolwork seriously enough.
Right.
The days of playing are going to end at some point, and you have to have something else to do.
Right. But you need a good support system.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
whether it's through the church or the schools or whatever, but your family, you've got to have a great support from the family.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming you did.
I'm an only child, and I'm very close to my mother and father. Every game I played, at least one of them were there. And that support is still carrying over today in my ministry. They're members of the church. And so without a strong support system, whether it's family or friends or a church family, you definitely need that to be successful.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
This has been great. Thank you again.
We want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Kevin Swann. I'm Bob Hintz. Till next time.